fire ignites passion and creativity. Free your imagination with the slim, sleek, and beautiful new Huawei P8.
Dion Chang recently released a fascinating report on digital addiction and how being addicted to technology almost turned his life upside down. Now, that's something that I can relate to, and I think that I have a kind of a problem. I think we all probably say, that's me. When they say to you the first thing you do when you get up from bed is take the phone from your side of your bed and you check your emails, I think that there's a problem. And the team popped into his trendy offices at 44 Stanley to chat to him about this and how he got out of his addiction, because I see that sometimes, and I follow him on Instagram, he often takes time out, and I think that's so important. Let's see what Dion Chang had to say about internet addiction.
The research around digital addiction is quite new, because a lot of people don't think that you can be addicted to a digital world, but all around the world there's evidence that it's growing and growing and growing. So people are finding that you have the same pleasure pathway in your brain every time you touch your phone, launch an app, go into the internet, but specifically on social media. The more likes you have, the more followers you get, the more comments you have, it gives you the same rush in your head. So there are dopamines and opiates that get released, so neurochemicals that are released in your brain, and it's the same as if you are a gamer, or if you're a gambler, or if you fall in love, or if you go to gym. You get the same sense of a rush, and that's why people say, well, no, I can't be addicted to my technology. But the evidence is really there that you are being addicted to it. And what they're saying and showing in these clinics that are starting around the world is that when you have to wean yourself off the digital process or separate yourself from the phone, you go through the same separation anxiety as hardcore drug addicts do off drugs. I was feeling really burnt out, so we started looking at digital burnout. And then what I started finding was a lot of companies were firing people and not understanding that the pressure of the jobs and being connected 24/7, that is what you're being required to do, was making people burn out completely. So hence the digital burnout and my own trying to separate my digital self from my offline self as well, which is still a work in progress. So I always ask people, do you look at your phone first thing in the morning and last thing at night? And everybody does that. Do you keep your phone next to you when you're sleeping, which is one of the worst things you can do, because one of the side effects or the ongoing effects of it is people checking their phones in the middle of the night to see what the time is, because nobody's got an analog clock anymore. So I have an analog clock next to my bed and I check the time there. The reason why it's so bad is if you check your phone in the middle of the night, you switch your phone on and it's the blue light that gets emitted by your devices, which basically hits you here and it reactivates your brain, which is why you shouldn't look at your phone last thing before you go to bed, because you're starting to see, as a consequence of this addiction, is interrupted sleep patterns. Access email twice a day, not throughout the day. 11 o'clock, 3 o'clock, that kind of thing. At Flux, we've just completed a whole report on Generation Z. So these are your 17 and under. And that's been really interesting, because these are your first digital natives, okay, who do not know a world without smartphones, Google, or the internet. What is interesting is, as their parents think that they're losing connectivity, they have an absolute belief of the concept of digital intimacy, that technology actually brings you closer together. So they have friends in cyberspace who they've never met before. Our research is showing that it's almost a self-correcting generation, because they haven't had to adapt to technologies. They're in it all the time. They understand the pitfalls. So oversharing on social media, they're very wary of. They absolutely understand cyberbullying and all of those kind of things. So that's why I say it's a self-correcting generation, and they will be more circumspect about how they use the technology, even though their parents don't think it looks like that. But what was surprising was a very high over-indexing of your 35 to 55, so it's your older generation. So I was wondering why that is, and it occurred to me that that is an older generation of a Generation X or baby boomers who have completely had to adapt to new technologies. coupled with the fact that they are at a certain high level of their careers, so they're moving up the corporate ladder, so the pressure of their jobs plus to keep technologically up to date is immense. And there are actually apps to curb your addiction on your phone. It sounds very counterintuitive, but basically, depending on which operating system you have, there is an app that will either measure all of your usage and tell you, hey, you've really gone overboard today, or if you set a limit of how much time you want to spend surfing or creating those boundaries for yourself, the phone will literally switch off and block you out of those things. So the technology is helping itself correct the bad habits.